Yesterday seemed to be a very Mandalorian-centric day. One of its stars, Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune, was trending all day, which led to Lucasfilm terminating her contract because of some inappropriate tweets and Instagram posts. Make it what you will, that's a whole video in its own right. But the main star of that show, The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, has found a new show. This comes from Deadline. Pedro Pascal to star as Joel in The Last of Us HBO series based on the video game. In one of the biggest TV castings of the year, the Mandalorian star Pedro Pascal is set to headline The Last of Us, HBO's high-profile series adaptation of the Sony PlayStation franchise from Chernobyl creator Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. Chernobyl, great show, hard-hitting, very honest, and the show is in good hands with those two guys involved. Based on the critically acclaimed video game The Last of Us, developed by Naughty Dog exclusively for PlayStation platforms, the story takes place 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed. Joel, Pedro Pascal, a hardened survivor is hired to smuggle Ellie, Game of Thrones Bella Ramsey, a 14-year-old girl, who's just been cast as well, out of an oppressive quarantine zone. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? What starts as a small job soon becomes a brutal, heartbreaking journey, as they both traverse across the US and depend on each other for survival. Pascal's Joel, tormented by past trauma and failure, must trek across a pandemic-ravaged America, all the while protecting a girl who represents the last hope of humanity. This marks a homecoming for Pascal, who became a household name with his role as Père Martell on HBO's mega-hit Game of Thrones. Pascal currently stars in Disney Plus' hugely popular and acclaimed series The Mandalorian, which recently received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Drama Series. He will continue on the Star Wars series, where he is used sparingly because of the nature of the character, though The Last of Us has him in first position. Remember that line. The actor recently became available for a new series, attracting multiple big offers from top premier networks and streamers opting to do The Last of Us. Pascal is coming off starring as the villain, Maxwell Lord, in Wonder Woman 84. He was so good. The Narcos and Kingsman: The Golden Circle star is currently in production on Judge Apatow's The Bubble for Netflix. So that's interesting, isn't it? Druckmann and Mazin write and executive produce this show also. Yeah. So, look, Last of Us, hugely successful game. About a pandemic, quarantine, I think there's like zombies in it as well. I never played the games. I've watched a bit of it on YouTube online. I've seen some clips, some footage, gameplay, some of the music, some of the cutscenes, and you know what, it's a very interesting story, and it's highly successful. I know number 2 came out last year, I think. It leaked, didn't it? And it was a bit controversial, but again, it still did well. I think it's the 3rd highest grossing US PlayStation game of all time. So look, there's a huge franchise for this game, and when you're adapting something like this, you have to be very careful because you don't want to piss off the core fan base, but also you need to attract new fan base as well, newer people that check out this who don't play games, and have them interested and do something different and new. Now, there was a report that Mahershala Ali, who of course is going to be Blade for Marvel, he was in talks or was circling around that role but turned it down. And yeah, I love him as an actor, Mahershala Ali. Yeah, I watch him in anything, but I think Pedro Pascal is probably the perfect choice for this adaptation of the video game. Now, as it said in that article there, he's used very sparingly in The Mandalorian. Now, there was some rumours circulating that there was some on-set problems with The Mandalorian because Pedro Pascal wanted to show his face more, because if you watch The Mandalorian, he barely shows it. Once a season for about a little tiny scene, and you know what? It's kind of a shame because he's such a good actor. His emotional acting is brilliant. Look at Wonder Woman 84. Look at the scenes in The Mandalorian, and he just nails it every single time. And you can see why he wants to have his face out in front so he can showcase his acting ability. Now, even the times he does the voice for The Mandalorian, not all the times he's in the suit. In season 1, I think he just did the voice and he was in the suit very, very little. You know, he wasn't in it that much. Season 2, he was in a little bit more. And I think for me personally, I could tell when he was in the suit. I could tell it was Pedro Pascal. But I just think if those rumours are true, this article kind of backs it up in a way because he wants to be the face. You know, he talks about, oh, he can still do Star Wars because they don't use him that much. He can still go over and headline this show for HBO. So I think there probably is a little bit of problems. And The Mandalorian doesn't seem to be in the best place right now. They've just lost Cara Dune, maybe a recast. Maybe they're going to banish the character. I don't know what's going to happen. But then Pedro Pascal is going to headline this other show and his face is going to be out in the forefront on HBO. But the game has a huge fan base. It makes a lot of money. If this can translate over to live action, I'm sure HBO have another big hit on their hands. HBO, Game of Thrones, huge hit. Shows like True Detective, Chernobyl, big shows that attract audiences, and this will probably be one that's going to hit that as well. I really do think that. But Pedro Pascal, for me, I love him as an actor. I think he's perfect for this role. The minute I heard Pedro Pascal to star as Joel in The Last of Us, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. That's going to work out. So I'm looking forward to this show. Let's see how it goes. It's got some good people behind it. The creators of Chernobyl, which was a smash hit for what it was. Hard hit show, hard to watch, stuff like that. So if they can bring in some of that darkness over to The Last of Us, which is hard hitting as well. It's in a pandemic, something that we're all familiar with right now. And this is probably why they're trying to move fast with this show, because it's very relatable to what we're going through right now. Of course, there's not zombies yet, but we're all at home in quarantine, or you can't do what you used to do and stuff like that. So it could be something to sit in and watch, or it might be too familiar for people to sit in and watch this quarantine like show. So they have to be careful with how they do this show, because they don't want to make people too depressed sitting at home because they can't leave home. But yeah, you've got this young girl who is the humanity's last hope, and then Joel has gone through a lot of trauma. I won't spoil what happens to his character in the games, but he goes through a lot of trauma, and he has to bring this 14-year-old girl, and the two of them kind of create a bond with each other, kind of a father-daughter relationship. It's very kind of similar to Logan, the Wolverine film, with him and his daughter, that kind of journey that they go on. They don't always get along, they don't always see eye to eye, but there's kind of a heartness there towards each other. There's a loving connection there towards each other, but it's tested at times. And of course, there's outside threats. There's bad people, there's bad things that come and try and stop them from doing what they're trying to do. But I think this show has the potential to be a great show for HBO. Another smash hit. It's got a great cast so far. It's got great people behind it, great writers. So this show for me can't fail. And if it does fail, it'll be one of the biggest flops of all time, because of the talent that's involved and the writers that's involved and the studio that's involved, which is HBO. But I think that PlayStation has been moving in the direction of adaptating a lot of their games. Uncharted, of course, is coming with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. They've done Lara Croft. Shows like that games like that have been getting adapted now for a long time, but there's kind of that big curse that video games can't be great movies, and go through the tradition of video games that are turned into movies. There's not some good ones there, some really bad ones, some okay ones, but that could be broken. That curse could be broken by The Last of Us. What did you think of Pedro Pascal cast as Joel? Is that good? Are you happy with it? Have you played the games? Is this something that you're looking forward to, or do you think they should have went with a different actor, a different direction? But I think it's absolutely perfect. I do. And maybe those Mandalorian rumors are kind of true, because this article right here kind of hit some of those points about him being used not that much in the show of Mandalorian. What did the show his face much? But I don't know about that. All I know is this show has cast some great actors and it has some great people behind it. So let's see what happens. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Give a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all the social. That stuff is in the end credits. And guys, have a good one. Do something that makes you happy.